What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, joined by Austin Krueger, a contributor at CHTV, who has an article out regarding the Packers' first-round pick and narrowing it down to what he thinks are the three dudes who will be on offer. And let's face it, the guys who they'll most likely pull the trigger on next Thursday night. Austin, how are you, man?
Very good, Aaron. Appreciate you having me on to talk some ball today and talk some draft. Obviously, you
Hell
can
yeah.
smell the air fryer starting to cook up in Green Bay. Get a little greasy out there.
Yeah, it is. It's starting to come to life. I tell you what, this draft footprint is no joke. There is a lot going on behind me here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And there's a lot going on inside the building as far as draft preparations. I believe today was their last day where they could have their pre-draft visits. They used their allotted 30 of them. And, we love kind of the fact that we can see who they're kind of poking around with, right? Like what positions they're looking at. But on Cheesehead TV today, you narrowed it down to three guys who you think are the ones, the guys that are most likely one of them will be selected next Thursday night. And I kind of wanted to go through your reasoning for each one here. Starting with Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. I love this player. Tell me why he's a perfect fit for the Packers.
Yeah. First of all, I think he was my initial back in February. Last year it was Javon Bowler was my first. I want this guy in the first round pick. Lock him in. This year it's Derek Harmon. I'm big on any guy who's going to be a great run defender coming out of the Big Ten, where ground and pound is the name of the game. You add in the fact that Derek Harmon is a successful run defender in his one season in Oregon. Granted, one season his whole career was actually in the Big Ten coming out of Michigan State, but he didn't really do much there. But when Harmon finally got the tread with Oregon State, the time to play, like I mentioned in the article, you flick on the tape, you flick on whatever highlights you can find. It's very quick. You are seeing he is quick off the ball. He is quick to digest. He's able to, as the ball snaps, he can slide down the line. He shoots a gap really well. Everything he did is kind of backed up by the grades. Some players' grades and tape doesn't match, but with Harmon, it matches. The 55 pressures to lead all defensive tackles last season, the second highest win rate for defensive tackles in the country at a 10.7. And then when you look at just pure pass rush stats, a 91.2 pass rush grade is first in ball. And add in the back-to-back seasons with 80-plus run defense grades. Like, what more can you want from a defensive tackle when your defensive tackle position is lacking true dominance? And for the Packers, that's why Harmon makes an incredible fit. Like, he is proven he can be a dominant player. And we are seeing in the modern NFL how much it means to have that impactful, dominant presence up the middle. The only pause I have with Harmon is he has got a Devontae Wyatt issue in the sense that he's got to get better at finishing plays. He had a poor missed tackle rate last season. You've seen it with Wyatt. He gets in the backfield like this, and then sometimes he doesn't finish the play. So that's my one.
Say, that's the thing too when you look at the pressures, right? The pressure rate is high, but you would like to see a bit more finish when he's back there. There's no doubt about it. With that said, I love his versatility up and down the line of scrimmage. I mean, I remember when they came to Wisconsin, he was all over the place. They lined him up and down the line. For the fit with the Packers, my wonder here is, can he play nose? I don't see him as a traditional nose, but that's an area where you got to think if they are going to pull the trigger, it's going to be with the thought that he can at least contribute there in the rotation.
Yeah, and that's what I'm waiting to see. And another player we'll start touching on who fits that mold better. But again, with two of the players on my article today, it comes back to the fact that who the hell knows with Kenny Clark after this season? Really,
right.
I am very steadfast in the fact that I don't think he's around in Green Bay in 2026. We're seeing a lot of defensive tackles hanging up their career in the early 30s. Kenny Clark's got a huge roster bonus coming up before next season. Even if he has a better year this year than whatever last year was, like, let's be real at what's happening. On top of the fact that Wyatt is still no long-term thing. Carl Brooks, all we know about him now is that he makes an awesome compliment. Hasn't really got the tread to be a number one guy. So, yeah, Harmon definitely more of that 3-tech, 4-eye, less of a true nose tackle. And I agree. That's the one thing. It's like Packers got a lot of 3-tech, 4-eye types of dude besides Clark, who can give you some nose tackle stuff. But for me, it comes down to like, the Packers have this issue of lack of production at defensive tackle in 24 and a lot of uncertainty after 25, to where I'm less concerned about him being a three tech guy because they're probably going to need a three tech guy, another one
At
for
some point down the
2026.
line,
Yeah,
right?
exactly,
Absolutely,
exactly.
no question about it. So let's get to the other defensive linemen who you have kind of name checked here, because this is where I would go. I think this guy makes all the sense in the world for some of the reasons we're talking about. In Kenneth Grant,
Hmm.
I think you talk about a guy who could potentially kind of, I don't know, be, there watching Kenny Clark and learning from him and letting Clark be his mentor, uh, before turning the page, setting themselves up for that transition along the interior. I think Grant makes a world of sense.
Yeah, he's if he falls to Green Bay, him and Harmon, I'm day by
Yeah,
day, I'm
that's the
struggling to
other
seeing them
rub.
fall.
No doubt.
Yeah. They both got a lot of connections to the top 20 teams. Like, I personally love Kenneth Grant. As much as I've been on the Harmon bandwagon since February, Grant is like right there. I think these are, no knock to Mason Graham, he's good, but
Mhm.
the difference between 1A and 1B in this draft at defensive tackle is marginal at best. Grant, another guy. He is talking about arguably the best run defender on the defensive line in the Big Ten, in the ground and pound conference. I want that in my football club. You want to talk about a first guy off the bus, 6'3", 340 pounds, and he moves like a running back. The clip I
So
put in there,
quick. So
yeah,
quick. Yeah.
chasing down a
It's
running back in
impressive.
open field. Are you kidding me? Like, this guy is very, very good. And again, in terms of the three tech and what the Packers have, they got rid of TJ Slayton, their nose tech run stuffer. They have not
Yeah.
replaced his snaps yet. Kenneth Grant would be an awesome guy to step in. Like you said, complementary role. Most defensive tackles, the highest pedigree guys, play a complementary role as rookies. Year two is when the launch pad just sends them.
Yeah.
And for Grant, Harmon, whatever, it's going to be a complementary role. Slayton snaps are open for the pickings, but with Grant, you're right. The fit, the Packers need the nose tackle. They need like that Jalen Carter. You put him over center and he's going to dominate. The fun thing with Kenneth Grant is, like, you see numerous clips of how easy he makes playing nose tackle look, which not many dudes do these days.
Right.
And not many dudes can hold 340 pounds and do good with it. We
Right.
saw the downfall of Albert Hainsworth back in the day.
No doubt.
But so seeing guys like Grant, he moves centers backwards instantly. He's great with fighting with hands. Yeah, he has to get a little bit better as a pure pass rusher, but still put up 8 sacks the last 2 seasons. He's one of the most double team defensive tackles out there that you can ask, that just in the last 2 years, but still was putting up, I think he had almost 40 run stops the last 2 seasons, which is really impressive, on top of 50 pressures. Um, Again, I think if the Packers decide it's got to be Wyatt, we're going to roll with Wyatt. There's your three tech. You got Brooks as another three tech, 4I. You got to have someone, like, a lot of people are clamoring, let's get Kenny Clark back in nose tackle position this
Mm-hmm.
year. Grant, he's going to be able to step in, play nose tackle complementary, and really just do what TJ Slayton did last year, but with a higher ceiling, higher pedigree of talent right off the bat.
And better pass rush ability. I
And a
mean,
better
there's
pass
zero
rusher.
question there. I mean, he may
Yeah.
not have tons of sacks, but I mean, like you said, he did get a lot of attention. And if he were in there as a complimentary kind of rotational guy his rookie year, they're not game planning for him. You know what I mean? He's going to get
Mhm.
some opportunities to get upfield and get after the passer, which I think he'll show. That's the thing. That's always the trick about this kind of time of year, right? The projection of how does he fit? How does he grow within your program? And I love the possibility with
Mhm.
Grant. The third guy you mentioned is someone who's gotten a lot of buzz connected to Green Bay seemingly suddenly, though I know you've been on him for quite a while.
Mhm.
It's Maxwell Hairston out of Kentucky, the
Yeah.
cornerback. Now, it's fun to think about, a loaded defensive backfield. I know there's probably some corner fatigue in the fan base, but I do understand this pick, and I love the upside. I do think there are some questions, though, and you touch on them in the article, and I know people have talked about it a lot. Sell me on Hairston at 23 for the Packers.
Yeah, yeah. I've been trying to defy the Packers' draft model and thresholds on Harrison since day one. 179 pounds was never going to work. When he posted the picture at 193, I was like, all right, I'm done with the
We're
worries
gold.
here. We're golden, pony boy. My big holdup before I try to sell you on him is obviously the tackling took a hit last year. He got the shoulder injury. It was Jair-esque. Jair used to be very confident and willing and going in there, lay some boom, and shoulder injury kind of took that away from him. That's my big. I'm out on the size thing with Harrison. Like, I'm fine here. He's 6'1" as well, and he plays. That's a big trait about him. He plays above his size, always has. For a small dude, 3 forced fumbles the last 2 years as well. Last year the tackling took a hit, but 2 forced fumbles. 2023. Now that was the last time he played a full season. He got targeted a ton in 23.
Right.
They went after him, and he put up mad results. And that's what I really like about him is his versatility. He played a ton of zone coverage at Kentucky. Obviously, Halfley showed he loves to play a lot of zone coverage. Again, maybe it was a thing with Jair not being there and what the defense need. But again, he's not just your average Packers athletic profile. The 4.28 40 is insane. Let's get that out of the way right now.
Seriously.
That's absurd.
Right.
But he's not just a back and forth, up and down mover. He is extremely fluid. And you cut on anything, you cut on the Senior Bowl highlights, he is staying sticky in man coverage with the best route runners in this class. He's very instinctive in zone coverage. And that's what I think is going to make him very appealing for the Packers. They love versatility out of their players. Hairston is one of the few guys in this class, cornerback-wise, who's shown he's very competent in man coverage, zone coverage. He's a converted wide receiver, so he has a high IQ in terms of digesting routes, reading routes, knowing when to jump routes, which is also the kind of area he's gotten himself in trouble, is being a little bit too jumpy on some routes. But either way, like I put in there, McShay is coming out and saying behind Travis Hunter, this is the most prolific athlete in this draft. He's not just a straight line mover like Eric Stokes. I've seen people try to compare him to Stokes. It's just not the same player.
No, it's not. And I think the fact that he's coming off an injury and the questionable tackling will undoubtedly be highlighted multiple times if he is indeed drafted by the Packers. That's just what Packers fans do, right? They're gonna harp on the negative. But I think everything you've listed as far as his upside and his maneuverability, the ability to move him around in the defense and not have to count on him right away. I love that. That's the other part,
Yeah. And again, if we're going to take his last full season before any injuries, in 2023, he still posted one of the top tackling grades among cornerbacks, 83.9. He's got it in him. He definitely suffered after that injury, and that is a valid concern. I hear it. But it's in there. He's a willing tackler. He's done it before. He's shown it in a full season that he can do it. The ball hawking skills, 6 interceptions the last 2 years. And I think the big thing for the Packers here, you bring in Nate Hobbs, you feel comfortable about Keyshawn Nixon right now. You want to see Bullet improve in the slot. You got Valentine in the chamber. What Harrison does at bare minimum is gives you another really good top of depth chart option this year and beyond. Because again, Jair might be gone before the season. Right. Keyshawn Nixon, we like him a lot. He's not young anymore. And also, when you compare him to other cornerback ones in the NFL, are you really feeling about Keyshawn Nixon as your cornerback one for the next 2-3 years?
I like him as an outside. I mean, I hear it because it's funny because I agree with you. And the trepidation there is understandable. But at every turn, the Packers seem bought in when it comes to Keyshawn, right? And that doesn't mean that, again, I agree with everything you're saying. It's just interesting that every time he kind of gets doubted from the outside of the building, they kind of double down. It's been kind of, they have been all in on Keyshawn. And look, I think he certainly had his struggles as a nickel corner, but man, he played really well as a perimeter guy last year.
I ate some words. I had to eat some words. I'm happy to say it. I ate some words. It's because he proved it.
A lot of people did. A lot of people did.
And he put on tape. He was so good. But you know what? The Packers also said a lot of things about Josh Myers, didn't they?
You are not wrong there, sir. They absolutely love Josh Myers. And now he's a New York Jet. He is a New York Jet. Yeah,
exactly. And I like Nixon. But again, it's more so he's kind of he's aging a little bit, and Packers are a young team, and Keyshawn is coming up on 30 sooner than later.
I know, was it Steve over at Steve and Sam on their podcast, Steve said, and it's 100% correct, I mean, that cornerback is a group where you are never set. You never. You know what I mean? Like, you play too many of them. So much happens every year at that position, injuries, guys rising or falling, just talent and output-wise. You have to almost every single year be kind of churning that room, right? You got to make sure that you've got some premium talent, and he would certainly fit the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about Jair. How fast he fell off of an all-pro type of player because of injury. His career ended with Green Bay, essentially ended like in a snap. It's gone.
Yep.
So yeah, that's a great point. You got to have it, and that's why I think there's no pressure on Harrison to come in and be the guy this year, but he's a true outside corner. So worst case, let's say they hypothetically move on from Nixon and Jair, and You got Hobbs, you can move around, slot outside. Who knows what they're going to do with Valentine, but with Harrison, you have another top of depth chart type of ceiling guy who you can slide it outside corner, and then it gives you more flexibility to move around Hobbs, do stuff with Valentine, do stuff with Bullard. You got X McKinney. I mean, the versatility and what Jeff Hafley liked to do, he ran a lot of cover six, a lot of disguises. You have so many guys that you can move around that defense and run so many different concepts that are going to get, confusing for offenses to have to see. And I love that. I want more of it.
Only because I'm anticipating this in the comments of the video or online on social media. Why Hairston over Barron? Because Barron seems to be a guy who has really kind of come into focus for Green Bay, at least on the outside looking in. Who knows what they're talking about in the building? But that's a name that I've seen connected to Green Bay quite a bit. So why Hairston over Barron?
Yeah, love Barron. This is not a knock on Barron, but he plays exactly the Javon Bullard role. That is, they are almost identical. The good and the bad coming out of college. Where did they play the most? Where did they play the least? It's almost identical. So you draft Barron, he's not an outside corner. Bullard was an outside corner. Barron's more of that nickel safety type of hybrid that you can move around the defense like crazy, but he's not going to be as valuable to you as an outside corner because we just haven't seen him play a ton of outside corner. He's been all right when he's done it. But it's essentially you draft Barron. What do you do with Bullard now?
They're going to play this. You just signed Hobbs, who's played mostly, in the slot his career. That's
so it's like you put yourself in a weird. If they didn't just draft Bullard, I would say Barron is my favorite pick for the Packers this year. Right. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. Another guy who could have easily made this list is Trey Amos. It was hard to leave him off. Azariah Thomas was hard to leave him off, but the hype around Hairston. I've been seeing this online now. The last time there was this much last week before the draft hype was Quay Walker.
Quay Walker, right.
And it worked. It kind of came out of nowhere. The spike happened, and now it's happening with Harrison. He just accepted to walk on
stage.
He's
going to be here in Green Bay.
He's going to be here. So, and that's why he kind of made the list more than, he's much better than other players. It's like, we've seen this before. It could be happening again.
Well, those are your top three at 23. But I will say in the article, you have a don't be surprised if a wide receiver and an edge player. We'll start with the wide receiver. We got Ohio State in the house. This is a popular pick. And this is something that if they were to pull the trigger on a wide receiver in the first round, this would not surprise me.
No. And there's a lot of Tet McMillan stuff out there, but Mecca Ibuka, right?
There's if Tet makes it past the Cowboys, it'll be a miracle. Right.
I
can't imagine Tet actually being there at 23.
That's where I have him going. At the worst is the Cowboys. So Emeka Ibuka for me, and the biggest thing here is obviously the run block, and we cannot overlook.
I just had this conversation with someone this afternoon. It's the big question mark, right? 100%.
Yeah, you can't overlook that when you have a premier wide receiver talent who is a madman trying to get after it in the run blocking. That never happens with the first round pedigree type of wide receiver talent. He is as polished, as fluid, as sure-handed as any first-round receiver we've seen come out of Ohio State. Yes, that includes Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, people like to forget Ibuka is Ohio State's all-time leader in receptions, all-time leader in receiving yards. In any draft, he's as polished as a route runner. Last year's draft, McConkey was the best route runner. Ibuka would have challenged him for that pedestal last year. He is incredibly smooth. He's 6'1", 200 pounds. Like, oh yeah, slot guy. He's a slot guy. It's like, he's got real legit outside wide receiver size.
He can play on the perimeter in Green Bay as a receiver. The question is about, in an offense where, look no further than who's out there when they run the two wide receiver sets, right? If he's going to be on the perimeter, he's got to block, and he's got to block well. Like that is a prerequisite just for getting on the field. So that's a big question mark.
Yeah, and so when you can eliminate that question mark with Ibuka, I think at the very least, beyond any other receiver in this class, he's going to bust his tail as a run blocker. And there's some great clips out there of him going in the line of scrimmage, even as in like a crossing tight end almost, and going in to crack a defensive lineman or an edge player. He's willing to get after it. I love that type of tenacity. He's very renowned for being a locker room leader, high character guy. Coaches love him. That screams Green Bay. That all screams Green Bay to me. I wouldn't be surprised at all. He gets comparisons to Amon-Ra St. Brown. So if we're going to sit here and complain about that type of player in our locker room, I got a problem with you more than the player.
Absolutely. No question about it. And then the other one you have is Mikael Williams, the edge out of Georgia. And there are a lot of edges, and I suspect many of them will go before 23. I do sense that there's a chance Williams is there. What makes him a perfect Packer?
Maybe it's the fact that he's a raw player, and
There you
Green
go.
Bay likes. There it is, right? That's what everyone's going to say too, right? But
Yeah,
you know what's
no
not raw
doubt.
about him is the fact that if it not been for the injury this year, he even admitted in a interview that he really only was playing at 60%, 70% this whole year. That ankle injury really took him back. But before this year, he was coming in as a lock, as a top 10 pick after what he did in 2023. And you can't consider it raw when he has back-to-back seasons being a very productive run defender as well. So in that sense, you know you're getting a quality run defender, someone who's going to get after it. And again, off the bus type stuff, 6'5", 260. The athleticism, you see his pop off the line of scrimmage. He's versatile, can move around the line, the freak athleticism, the freak size. Like he's checking all the Packers boxes, right?
Right.
Um, he I think he also complements the fact that they've been putting all these power rushers out there. They don't really have a great speed rusher, and
Guy with bend, the guy with who got
yeah,
some wiggle around the edge. Yes,
yeah,
please,
and
please.
that's what I'm saying. Get Williams in
Right.
there. He's so slippery to get off of edge blockers. And you know what? Last season was kind of a down year for him, but like meaningful big games, Texas. He racked up 4 sacks against Texas last year in big moments. Um, I think the thing I only struggle with, and it's could be the same thing said with Harmon, is like trying to find the best guy on an elite defensive line. Oregon has
Right.
an elite defensive. Packers are looking at other defensive linemen on Oregon. Packers are probably looking at other defensive linemen on Georgia.
Yeah.
So it's like figuring out who is the guy that really is the one who's moving the needle here. Honestly, Michael Williams, if he had a healthy season without an ankle injury, I don't think there's any question he's going top 10 this year. I don't think there's any question he's the guy who's moving the needle on that defensive line. And so if he slips to 23, it's not like you're taking a chance at pick 13 again.
Mm-hmm.
You're at 23 now, where this kind of pick is way more comfortable to make. And he's
Yes.
already proven a lot of things that, from a raw perspective, I'm not buying as much. It's just more so for me when we're talking about edge players. Like, I just want to see Lucas Van Ness get the tread. I don't want to see someone coming in who's going to take away the chance for him to actually break out, because he just hasn't had that chance yet.
Yeah.
And I think, getting either of these guys with Covington on the defensive line, I think Covington's going to work wonders as a technician guru that can unlock a Michael Williams or a Lucas Van Ness to their full potential. And both of those guys are very similar, just different types of rushers, in the sense their upside is someone can unlock it. You're going to have danger on your
Love it.
hands.
Love it. We need more danger on defense. No question about it. Austin, really appreciate the time. There's a link in the description of this video where you can go read his piece over at CHTV.com. Austin, thanks so much, man.
Thanks for having me, Aaron. Appreciate it.